I have global reach on somebody else? I think I'd have.
What is up, Guardians? What is up, agents? Miah-Pinion here. Taking a quick little break from the Division 2 for a little bit since I unfortunately knocked everything out a little bit too quick and I just don't feel like grinding out levels right now. So I figure I'd revisit Destiny 2. I know it's free to play for a lot of the base content and they have the new season here, which I did not buy. But the game is in a state now. One of my buddies who I've gamed with for years said, hey man, you should come back, check it out. I did. I resurrected my grenade launcher build. I farmed up some mods and stuff, and this thing wrecks shop. I'm just going to cover the build. I'm going to do this in my Division 2-esque style. Just go down, break down the weapons, the gear, the talents. In this case, you know, this different skills that we have here, supers and such. And just show you guys how I do it and try to break it down in a very methodical method. I will have timestamps down below, and then at the end we'll have some solid gameplay, hopefully me not looking too stupid, trying to show how this build works. And as always, I will probably show me doing some stupid shit too. So thanks for checking this out, guys. If you find this to be beneficial, helpful, teach you guys anything you didn't know, do me a favor, smash that like button, and hopefully by the end of this I'll earn your guys' subscription. Alright, let's get right on into it. Alright, Guardians, I'll go over the basics of the armor real quick. The big thing about the armor is what mods we use. Other than that, there's a lot of freedom in this, and one of the big issues I'm having is now with sunsetting. I get the sunsetting of weapons. Sunsetting of armor, particularly with the cost of resources to masterwork. Like right now, 66 total. I want to masterwork this. That'll kick it up to 78. This will be a wonderful piece, but 3 ascended shards. Now, because this is an exotic, I'll pay that because I know it's not going to be sunset. Most of this stuff you can get away with just getting up to like tier 6 or 7, and you could still get away with most of it. But if you can get up to at least energy level 9, that'll open up a lot of, it'll make things a lot easier. So we're going to need to have 2 void. The only other requirement in the build is to have 1 solar piece for blast radius, become charged with light by rapidly defeating multiple combatants with grenade launchers or rocket launchers. So this will be a secondary method. We have 2 methods of getting charged with light. That will be through the blast radius or through the taking charge. This is if we do not elect to run the Warmind cell build, which I will briefly cover as well. Other than those 3 specific requirements, the other 2 pieces you can run whatever you want to use. And in fact, you may elect to, instead of going with Void or Solar, add some Arc into this. Alright, Guardians, so my gear consists of an anti-extinction helm, which I'm rocking 2 grenade launcher ammo finders. Between these 2, this will make sure that I constantly have grenade ammo, up into including using my heavy drum-fed grenade launcher as my primary weapon. I know that seems silly, but you guys will see how that works out. And we're running stacks on stacks right here, gain an extra stack of charge with light for every stack I gain. So whether this is taking charge or blast radius, every time I get 1 stack, it kicks me all the way up to the 2. And I don't need more than 2 because the way that this works, basically every time I'm getting kills, I'm getting multi-kills. So with high energy fire and protective light, are static either 20% damage bonus or 50% damage reduction. And the stacks either let you kill more enemies without losing it, or in the protective light, the duration lasts longer. I'll cover that more later. Luckily, I got some Grips of the Great Hunt from the raid, so these will last me till 1410. This will last a little while longer. The big one, I'm running Blast Radius on this. We got Grenade Launcher Loader. We got Machine Gun Reload Speed on here. In case I'm doing a Warmind cell build, I just leave this on here so I don't have to worry about switching. Also, in case I need to, I can switch to Overload Submachine Gun in case I need to be in charge of taking care of Overlord champions. And we got a minor recovery mod on here to make sure that we hit the 50 on our recovery. I think that's the recovery right there. Yeah. My exotic piece, I'm running the Dragon Shadow. We'll cover some exotics in a moment. Big thing is running the Taken Charge so that every time we pick up an Orb of Light, we become charged with light. Grenade Launcher Reserves. This makes sure we can carry as many grenades as possible. And once I upgrade this, I'll be able to choose a Tier 1. One of these Tier 1 sort of deals. The Wraith Metal Mail perk you get, dodging reloads all weapons and increases both movement and weapon handling speeds for a brief time, is clutch. Especially when I combine this with the perk that recharges my melee ability every time I do my dodge. And I go invisible every time I do my dodge. And that invisibility lasts almost half the duration of the recharge. So for the most part, as long as I'm paying attention to it and I'm trying to make this part of my build, I don't actually really have to reload my weapons. I'll maybe reload the Salvengers once in the entire cycle, just simply to get 2 because of the Ambitious Assassin, but we'll get into all that. I'm running some Icarus Drift Legs 1360, so these will be done at the end of the next season. We're running High Energy Fire. This will give us our 20% damage bonus every time we are, in the entire time we are charged with light. And then we got 2 Grenade Launcher Scavengers. This means every time we get a grenade pickup, this will give us bonus grenades. As far as the legs go, if I was not running the Dragon's Mail, what I used to do is switch between Orpheus Rigs when I'm running the Void, the Night Stalker subclass, and when I'm running Stasis, I would use the Stompies. And lastly, I'm very sad to announce that my Cunning Rivalry Cloak will not be worth using after this season. I will have to retire it. And this is my awesome cloak, dude. Look at this, guys. I'm not going to be able to use this anymore. Get the fuck out of here. It's my goddamn Serpentor cloak. And this is where most of the action, this is all the fun right here. So we got Protective Light. This is what, if I take critical damage, and basically what this is, it says when your shields are destroyed. Basically when you go into the red, you get that critical sound. You'll see Sheltered in the Void. And for each stack of this, that Sheltered in the Void lasts a longer duration. This is a great perk to use. And then I double up on Distribution, reduces all class ability cooldowns when using your class ability near enemies. So this is not happening all the time, but can be a great benefit the way that I run this build. And one that is almost always active is the Perpetuation. Reduces class ability cooldown when using your class ability. And since we're basically trying to get it to where we're dodging all the time to reload our weapons, we of course want this dodge to be on perpetual availability. And lastly, I got a minor mobility mod in here. I could upgrade this to a recovery if I wanted to, and an intellect, but at this point it's just the mobility is more important up until I can masterwork and find some new gear. So
Could possibly be that.
again, mix and match your gear as it fits you best in your playstyle. If you don't like doing this dodge reload, if that's not your thing, go ahead and switch up and use some Stompies, use some Orpheus Rigs, you know. The good thing I do like about the Dragon Shadow is it doesn't matter your subclass. This works with everything. Alright guys, of course I'm maining a Hunter, but I will quickly throw in some additional gear, some exotics you can use for the Titan and the Warlock to enhance your grenade build. There's other things you can do to add to it, but these are going to be the ones that I recommend. So for the Titan, you can use the Lion Ramparts, provides additional area maneuverability, enables accurate hip fire while you're in the air during lift. And so what this means is this will make it substantially easier to jump up in the air and fire down on opponents. One of the easiest ways when you're learning to use grenade launchers is to simply do aerial attacks. It's really hard to miss and bounce between legs and stuff if you're simply firing down on an enemy. Plus, with the remote detonation, it's a lot easier to tell when to release the remote detonation when you see the grenade about to hit the ground or you see it just bounce off the ground. You can explode it right then. So line ramp parts are good for that. But another option you could use, if you are doing the Warmind cell build, one of the best things you can do is run the Akelos SMG. And then that, of course, works great with this. Reloads stowed machine guns and allows you to ready them instantly, improving your handling with SMGs and your movement while wielding one. So what this means, if you're doing the Warmind build, of course, you could go ahead and use the Witherhoard, pop it out there, pull out the SMG, which is immediately ready, start blasting things down, and whatever the Witherhoard kills or your SMG kills, start stacking towards that bonus, and it's, 5 red bars guarantees you a Warmind cell. Point being, these Peacekeepers will absolutely work amazing with a grenade launcher Warmind cell build.
Recording data sees.
As far as the Warlock goes, you can use the Lunafaction boots. Your risk and additional ability to increase weapon reload speeds. So this is kind of cool because what this will do is, it will increase your reload speed by a substantial amount while you're in the Rift. The problem is you have to put the Rift in one particular spot. So, it does make you a little bit more vulnerable to fire, but if you're using a healing Rift, okay, not a big deal. And if you're using a damaging Rift, maybe that'll make sure that you kill them before they kill you. But what I think are better is the transversive steps. After a short time sprinting, your currently equipped weapon is automatically loaded. This is not quite as cool as the Dragon Shadow, which reloads all the weapons, but of course this can be used to some effect and mitigate having to reload certain weapons with really long reload times, particularly some of our grenade launchers. Alright guys, now I'm going to talk about the weapons. I'm just going to go down the list, the Kinetic, the Energy slot, and then the Drum Fed, and we'll go over the different options that are viable currently in Season 13, I think it is. Alright, so the only viable Kinetic that we have in this season is the Witherhoard, as everything else has been sunset. Now you guys are all familiar with our good old Mountaintop. Alright, I know everybody misses the good old micro missile. Rangefinder, spike grenade, hard launch. I mean, it's really hard to go wrong with this thing, right? But 1060 max power, alright, not going to do it. The other option that we had was the Militia's Birthright, which was the Nightfall exclusive for the Lake of Shadows. This is a lightweight frame, and while there were better versions, I was always hoping to get Ambitious Assassin right here, along with auto-loading, so that I would either have 1 or 2 in the chamber all the time. Spike grenades, hard launch. This was a beautiful gun. So, and really this right here, this is where I learned to use grenade launchers. I did a lot with the Fighting Lion, as you guys will see back in the day, comparable amount of kills with my Fighting Lion. Again, the only viable option that we have, and unfortunately it is exotic, so if you use this, you cannot use any other exotic. However, in my mind, this is the best exotic grenade launcher in the game right now. Primeval Torment. Projectiles fired from this weapon blight the target or nearby area on impact. So if this actually hits an enemy, you'll notice they'll take damage over time for a very significant period of time. Or if it hits the nearby area, it will turn into a blighted area on the ground that does damage over time to any of the enemies that are in it, and it staggers them. So once they're in it, they tend to stay in it most of the time until they die. The other portion of this, Break the Bank. Blighted targets take damage over time and blight the nearby area on death. So this is a great way. This is why this weapon is so great. You fire it on the ground or into one ad to create a blight that will destroy the groups. If it's an ad, he'll die rather quick, and then other guys around him will die by the blight. This is also an amazing weapon against bosses, DPS-wise, as it's a fire and forget. You hit him with 1 round of Witherhoard, switch over to something else, and start doing other damage. If you have the Catalyst, it adds an incredible amount of handling and adds auto-loading holster to it. So what that means is I can Witherhoard, Salvo, a bunch of crowd pleaser, do another Witherhoard, and then do my dodge reload with the Dragon Shadow, and then start it all over again. And that way, technically, I do not ever reload any weapons if I use that combo. Let's talk about our breach loading energy slot. So here's the Salvanger Salvo. This is the pinnacle for this season. I'll get more into that in a second. Here's the thing that makes me sad. My Martyr's Retribution. 36,344 kills on it. And this is the wayframe. One-shot handheld grenade launcher. Projectiles release a wave of energy when they contact the ground. This is an absolutely amazing weapon. And despite the fact it's limited to 1260, since this is the only solar breach launching grenade launcher, I'm keeping this in hopes that that this will still be able to hold out if there's solar burn. And unfortunately, until they bring another solar breach launch grenade launcher in the game, this is what we got. So I'm going to use it. I farmed for this for a long time back, and I think it was Season 9, to get auto-loading holster and either the option of lead from gold or demolitionist. Back in the day, there wasn't as many ways to really make sure you had grenades all the time, so this made sure I did. But with this setup, I don't even need to use lead from gold anymore, and demolitionist makes sure that I have a grenade. However, if I do start running short on ammo on the fly, I could switch over to lead from gold, go pick up a heavy brick, and that will give me a bunch of ammo for my Marty here. And if I happen to be full up on heavy ammo and there's a brick sitting there, I'll kill a couple things to make some room. The old school Iron Banner Orwing's Maul was a great void grenade launcher if you did not have the Fighting Lion. Unfortunately, the perks that it gets cannot in any way compete with the new version of the Truthteller. There's a lot of different versions of this, but this is essentially the one that I wanted. Linear Compensator is probably my favorite launcher barrel perk, and this one is perfect for me, either proximity grenades or spike grenades. Normally I'll run around with spike grenades since it has auto-loading holster and swashbuckler. And the idea behind this, if I'm in PvP, I'll be using proximity grenades, but for PvE, because we'll use this as part of the damage cycle against bosses, spike grenades, auto-loading, and swashbuckler. What this means with auto-loading is I always have a round ready to go. So what I'll do is I'll whip this out, I'll melee a weak enemy to get swashbuckler times 5, and then fire off the spike grenade into the enemies. So because of that, we got major spec on here. I could go boss spec if I wanted to, but I use this more often to take out the majors, and the majority of damage to any actual bosses comes from Witherhoard. One thing that I will note is you are able to get multi-kill clip on the Truthteller, and if you really wanted to maximize your damage, you could go and use the combo of the multi-kill clip along with the Dragon Shadow for the instant reload. Fire the Truthteller, get it stacks up the multi-kill times 3, which is a 100% damage bonus. So if you can get a triple kill, do your dodge roll, that will automatically reload it, and you have multi-kill clip times 3, and then you fire that off, and of course, provided there's enough enemies, it's pretty easy to keep multi-kill clip times 3 up and keep that going, and that would actually be an even higher damage bonus than Swashbuckler. I prefer Swashbuckler for the ease of getting Swashbuckler times 5 by doing 1 melee. And since Dragon Shadow and my combination, I'm going invisible and getting all my weapons reloaded, that means I can go invis, have this weapon ready, sneak up on an unsuspecting enemy, hit him with the melee, kill him, and have Swashbuckler times 5, and I'm doing really good. It's 65% damage bonus. Charge with light, that bumps it up to 85%. So alright, that's a lot to talk about the Truthteller, but hey man, I had to tell you all the truth. Alright, second to last, we'll go over the exotic. There's the Fighting Lion. This is the sole breach loading exotic we have in the energy slot. 11,000 plus kills on this bad boy. And the Fighting Lion, first of all, delayed gratification. Grenade projectiles will bounce off of hard surfaces. And it will bounce a few more times than a standard lightweight grenade launcher that you have your own remote detonation. The big thing about this bad boy is thin the herd. Direct hits do more damage to enemy combatant shields, and rapid kills against grenade damaged enemies refill the magazine. Lastly on this, kills always drop primary ammo, so that helps to make sure that you have ammo for this all the time. But again, with this build, It's actually not necessary. So I feel like, and you may disagree, but I feel like the Fighting Lion is a better choice if you're not speccing into grenade launchers at all and you want to use a grenade launcher. That's when I would choose the Fighting Lion. And last, the catalyst on the Fighting Lion. After this weapon fires, equipped kinetic and power weapons gain a brief period of increased handling and accuracy. Alright, now to quickly go over it, there's some other videos that talk about this thing in depth, how to get it, what it does, and all that, but why is this thing awesome? Salvanger's Salvo, the new pinnacle, aka ritual weapon for Season 13. It is a lightweight frame, one-shot handheld grenade launcher with remote detonation. Comes standard with quick launch and spike grenades. This means that any hits you do directly will cause additional damage. Get the choice of Ambitious Assassin or Demolitionist. Of course, Demolitionist will help us get grenades back quicker, but why would you not want the opportunity to almost always have 2 rounds in the chamber on a breach launch? I mean, come on. And then we get the choice of Vorpal Weapon, which of course could be nice against bosses, and makes it easier to take out vehicles, but it's really not needed for that. So I don't see a purpose to using the Vorpal Weapon, especially with this build, but you may. And the big reason why, chain reaction. Each final blow with this weapon creates an elemental damage explosion. Seeing as it is the only breach launcher at the current time with chain reaction on it, and that you can couple that with the Ambitious Assassin to get 2 sets of chain reactions in a row, which basically guarantees that you're going to have another 2 in the magazine, is just absurd. And this thing, because before I was using the Akelos and I was doing a Warmind cell build along with Charge with Light, I was really hesitant to use this guy, but as soon as I really started using it, I mean, I've only had it for a couple of days, and look, I have over 1,000 kills already, so it tells you how well this works into the rotation. Alright, you know what, without further ado, let's get into the drum feds. So, with this build, it turns out the drum feds are what I use as my primary weapon, because I don't want to have to be reloading all the time, and for the most part, I do actually rotate through everything, because the Dragon Shadow allows me to do that. But let's get into these, and keep in mind that I am not, for the most part, I'll cover a couple of these that are good for boss DPS. For the most part, this is what I use for the mobbing. This is what I use for ad control, and because they are the heavy drum fed grenade launchers, they do enough that basically this clears all the red bars and all the yellow bars. Alright, Guardian, so I did do some substantial testing using the Dragonfly Spec. I normally don't go watch videos, but people sent me a couple different videos, some about it working, some about it not. Error has what appears to be the most comprehensive video, but I did my own testing, and as you guys can see in the background here, this is just me testing it out over and over again. I'm not only trying with my crowd pleaser, I'm testing with the Salvo, Salvanger Salvo, and unfortunately it's a placebo effect. It does not work, but the good news is that means it allows us to spec into something else like Icarus Grip for your Salvo, backup mag for the crowd pleaser, or whatever else you guys prefer. If you with my build, since I don't actually need a bigger mag, what I'll probably do is just stick a major spec on both my Salvager Salvo along with the crowd pleaser and just rock it that way. So I figured I'd just include this in here because it is pertinent, and you guys probably see that I'm testing and I have the Dragonfly specs on, but that was simply because I was testing it. Alright, so as you guys can see, that 26,636, that's the same high damage we get with or without the Dragonfly spec. So there, that's it right there. That was the same number I got repetitively, no matter whether I had the perk or not. Alright, I quickly wanted to include a quick test of blast radius versus damage. Long story short, if you're using spike grenades, you want lower blast radius. That will make you do more impact damage. It will lower the explosion damage a little bit. There's a direct relationship between the two. The times that you would want to increase your blast radius, the first one is using proximity grenades. Proximity grenades will never directly impact a target, so there's no use to waste to lower your blast radius. It will only increase your damage to kick that blast radius up. The other is when you are running full court. Full court, the damage bonus is applied only to the explosion, not to the direct impact. So particularly if you're using full court with proximity grenades, then of course you just want to aim for the largest blast radius you can get. Alright Guardians, we'll quickly look at 4 power exotics that you can choose from. They all of course have their own exotic perks which have pros and cons, and of course fit these into your playstyle as you prefer. Prospector is an arc exotic grenade launcher. This is in its own archetype. You guys will notice this is 165 rounds per minute. So this is the fastest firing grenade launcher in the game. It is full auto, and its perk is excavation. Fire grenades, release to detonate all live grenades simultaneously. Grenades stick to surfaces and set targets on fire. So basically, this is more of a boss DPS type of weapon. What you do is hold down the trigger to fire off full auto all 8 grenades into a boss. You let up the trigger, all 8 grenades explode at the same time and catch the boss on fire. Now, of course, you could use that for lesser adds, but you can see that this is obviously meant as a boss DPS weapon. We got the Colony. This is a void grenade launcher. Another strange archetype, 140 RPM. This weapon's grenades are insectoid robots that chase targets and explode close to them. Unfortunately, they don't seem to track as well as I would hope. The secondary perk that this has is Serve the Colony. Insectoid robot grenades quickly repopulate the magazine from reserves while the colony is unequipped. This is essentially auto-loading holster. The thing is they quickly refill one at a time, so if you pull this out prematurely, unlike auto-loading holster where you wouldn't have any rounds in the mag, most likely you will have a few extra grenades in the magazine when you pull this out. Another arc grenade launcher, and the other contender for the highest sustained DPS along with the Witherhoard is the Anarchy. The intrinsic perk, arc traps. Grenades stick to surfaces and chain arc bolts to other mines. So obviously you can put multiple mines down near each other and this will cause damage over time. You then can switch to another weapon and start doing damage. Very similar to the Witherhoard. That's why these are both great weapons. This does take the power slot, so you have that to consider. And lastly, another very interesting power grenade launcher. Not because of the archetype, it is the standard 120 archetype, but because this is the only stasis weapon currently in the game. So this does stasis damage. Its intrinsic perk, Cryo Cannon. Hold the charge, release to fire. This weapon's projectiles create stasis crystals and freeze nearby targets. So its other perk, Flash Freeze. Charging this weapon increases the freeze radius and amount of stasis crystals created. Salvation's Grip is cool in the fact that it allows you to run stasis in a build using a standard light subclass. However, the problem is it's just not a very effective weapon overall. Alright, awesome. So let's move on. So unfortunately, solar grenade launchers do not get any real love in this game. And unfortunately, there's only 2 that I feel are viable. The first one being the Martyrs, and the second one, the Drumfed, being this Outrageous Fortune. And I got about the best roll I think I could possibly get on this. And you'll notice I only have 282 kills on this, and I've actually had this for quite a while. And here's why. So it's the 150, so it actually does less damage. You know, I mean, hard launch or quick launch, everything's good there. I got my spike grenades. I got my auto-loading holster, so it's always loaded. And if I get a couple kills and I want to do a quick reload, or do the dodge reload, Ambitious Assassin will kick this up to, I've had up to 11 rounds in the magazine. So why does it suck? Well, because the blast radius is tiny, and it just doesn't have it's the only solar heavy, and it doesn't have any perks that really stand up and stack up against the competition these days. This is just outclassed by newer and better models with better perks. So next I will talk about Arc. Now, there's the Blast Battue. I only have the one I got because I didn't get Season 12. So this is the newest of the Arc heavies, the Blast Battue. And mine's not great, but if we actually go to Light GG and check it out, all right, we can get Spike on here and we can get proximity grenades on here. So ideally, you can get a setup with both. And so for the third column, you got Clown Cartridge or you got Killing Wind. Both, I think, are stellar perks for this. The Killing Wind, of course, would make it better as the mobbing weapon, and Clown Cartridge it'd be great for mobbing too, but would make it more advantageous as a boss or DPS weapon. But moving on to the actual perks in the last column here, well, it does have Rampage, right? Rampage is cool, but the big one, Chain Reaction. Let's face it, no other perk can compete with Chain Reaction for ad clearing. I mean, it's just too powerful of a perk. My personal opinion, look for a Blast Battue with Clown Cartridge and Chain Reaction, or Killing Wind and Chain Reaction. And I'd probably go with Killing Wind and Chain Reaction myself, just for the increased mobility you get while using it. So look for that. Alright, so there's also the Interference, and this can roll with some really good perks on it. But this ends up being more of a boss DPS weapon than a crowd control weapon. So, of course, in the second column, we can get Spike Grenades, and you can get Proximity Grenades. Either are beneficial, and the best thing, of course, would be to have both. In the third column, you got Auto-Loading Holster, which in my opinion is, of course, the best perk of any of them. After that, you have the choice of Clown Cartridge or Field Prep. Clown Cartridge is awesome because, again, you can get up to 11 rounds in the magazine. And Field Prep is awesome as you can get faster reloads when crouched and carry. It's only one more grenade, but hey, that's one more grenade. This Interference works much like the Truthteller I talked about earlier, where I got the Spike Grenades, I got the Auto-Loading Holster. I get a melee kill on an enemy to immediately go to Swashbuckler ×5, and I generally have enough time to unload about 6 to 2nd rounds into the boss before Swashbuckler ×5 is gone. Now, this is the highest damage I've found as far as boss DPS. Recently, I got a new role that I like even better, and that's this full court version, because I don't have to do any work to get the bonus damage. Albeit it's only 25% bonus damage versus 65 you can get with Swashbuckler ×5. But this guy's got the Spike Grenades, the auto-loading, and this is just ease of use. I can just whip this thing out, fire off, and the further they are away from me, the more that explosion is going to do. One thing to note, only the explosion is buffed by the actual distance the projectile travels. So having Spike Grenades does help to increase the damage from the direct hit, because that will not be increased from full court. Lastly, we're going to get into some Void Grenade Launchers. So, one of the ones that came out in the not too distant past was the Berenger's Memory. This is a reissue. This is about the best version that I could get with that. We got some Spike Grenades, some Clown Cartridge, and some Rampage. So this is good for ad clearing. The Rampage helps. The Clown Cartridge makes sure we have a bunch of rounds in the magazine. And this is just a good all-around grenade launcher if you don't have something better. So very similar to the Berenger's Memory is the Swarm of the Raven. This is an Iron Banner exclusive, and for a long time this was the king of the hill as far as drum-fed grenade launchers go. Again, we got Spike Grenades, we got some Field Prep for more ammo, faster reloads, and Ambitious Assassin to get us up to that 11 in a mag. There were no damage bonuses that worked directly for boss DPS. This was a boss DPS weapon for me. Alright, lastly, I'm going to get into my baby, and that's the Crowd Pleaser. This is the new void that was available as of last season.
Sequence is pattern.
This was initially a Gambit drop, and then I started getting it other places, but I do know that this has a higher drop rate. This is just from my own personal experience, but I tend to get a bunch of them, and I still get a bunch of these from Gambit. So if you're looking for one, go play some Gambit, see what happens. So basically, we've got the volatile launch. I wish this had linear compensator on it, but alas, I'm stuck with what I have. The big one, proximity grenades, and I do wish this was spike grenades, but hey, you know what? That's alright. I'm pretty much using proximity grenades all the time anyway. Now, surplus. This is actually a great perk. Increases handling speed, reload speed, and stability for each fully charged ability. And this is great because for the most part, I'm really not using anything except for my dodge reload, unless I have to. And so that means I at least have 2 stacks of surplus, which is, it feels about like Feeding Frenzy times 2. I think surplus and Feeding Frenzy seem to be about the same thing. Feeding Frenzy times 3, as you guys know, is right about the same as Outlaw. And I feel like surplus at 3 stacks, if you have your grenade, your melee, and your class ability, is about there. The thing is this gives us not only reload speed, but handling and stability as well, right? So you notice if I were to switch over to Smart Drift Control, I lose blast radius, but I gain velocity, stability, and handling. Well, surplus mitigates the handling and the stability just by having those stacks, right? So I do lose a bit of velocity, but this allows me to go with the volatile launch and get that bigger blast radius, which then helps to buff chain reaction. Each final blow with this weapon creates an elemental damage explosion. You guys have seen this. Just a phenomenal weapon. Another one that I have that's not perfect, but I think would be really awesome if this had the proximity grenades, to try something like proximity grenades, ambitious assassin, and chain reaction. But the idea is if chain reaction goes off, it kills a bunch of dudes, and then you reload, you're going to basically every time you reload, you're going to be proccing maximum ambitious assassin. So this is basically a free way to have a big mag almost all the time. So this would be cool, and actually I might try using this over, say, the surplus one if it had the proximity grenades. But I gotta be honest, the more and more I play with surplus, and the more and more I check out the bonuses that it gives over not having any particularly reload speed and such, I find that this is really just a great perk. You know, what sort of options do we have? We got field prep, right? Field prep will give you 1 more reserves and do a little bit faster reload, but surplus handles that for me. Okay, we got clown cartridge, which gives us bonus ammo randomly. That's cool, but I still like surplus for the faster reload and the bonus perks it does. We got Killing Wind. I might argue the Killing Wind and Chain Reaction might be even cooler than this, simply because of the mobility, the increased mobility it gives you when you get those kills. So look for Killing Wind Chain Reaction version for sure. That's kind of it. You know, there's not really much better there. This Chain Reaction perk is my new favorite perk in the game, hands down. Here's a little extra little thing. I don't know if you guys realize this, but the Last City Damage shell, this is just a common shell. You guys can actually masterwork that. It gives all the bonuses of any exotic, and you can do all the things with it still. So I stuck a nice little Callus Preferred shader on her, and hooked it up with a little bit of everything. Just kind of cool little Easter egg there. If you guys have a Last City Damage Ghost shell, you can make it really cool. Alright, Guardians, I'm going to go over the different Charged with Light mods that I use and other ones that are available and how you might be able to use them to effect. I'll be honest, some of these mods I don't use a whole lot of, so you guys may know better combinations that may work with your particular playstyle. So go ahead, if you have an idea of how to make these mods work in different combinations better than I'm using them here, help out the community. Leave a comment down below. Let us know how you use them, and I'm happy to go and try those out and give it a shot. Alright, first I'm going to talk about the different mods that you can use that do not require any elemental affinity. The first one, which we are of course using, is Taking Charge. This costs 3 energy, And you become charged with light by picking up orbs of power. This means anytime that you pick up an orb of power or an orb of light, you become charged with light. That in and of itself does nothing for you. It needs to be combined with other mods to actually add an effect. But this is pretty much the bread and butter of how to become charged with light. There's lots of other ways to do it, but this is kind of the standalone. If you don't have any other sort of specified method, just go taking charge. This will make sure that you stay charged with light in those times when you can't get your specific occurrence to happen. Next, you got Shield Break Charge. This is one of the cheapest ones at just 1 energy cost. Become charged with light by breaking a shield that matches the energy type. Shield Break does require you to have the matching energy type weapon, so if you do not have that, this will not be of benefit, but it is a cheap cost at only 1. Empowered Finish. Become charged with light by finishing a combatant consuming 1/10 of your super energy. I do not like things that consume super energy. That's just me, but if you don't mind, you can certainly use this, and it's very cheap. The thing is, you have to get an opponent down to being able to be finished, and with grenade launchers, it tends to be the dude is either alive or they're dead. There doesn't tend to be a middle ground. Now, one of the mainstays of any Charge with Light build, in my opinion, is High Energy Fire. This is why we choose Charge with Light. While Charge with Light, gain a bonus to weapon damage. Each defeated combatant consumes 1 stack of Charge with Light. That damage bonus is a flat 20%, no matter how many charges you have. However, if you don't have, say you don't have a method of getting your energy back other than picking up orbs, if you have Charge with Light times 2, you can kill 2 dudes, and then you need to pick up an orb of power. If you have times 4, you can kill 4 guys, each one of those consuming a stack, but your bonus damage will remain 20% regardless of the number of stacks. This is hands down one of the biggest and one of my favorite damage bonuses in the game that you can basically keep statically rolling all the time. And one of the best parts about this is it doesn't go away until you defeat a combatant. So what that means is anytime you're going to do boss DPS, obviously you want to have at least 1 stack of Charge with Light, because that means you're going to do 20% bonus damage to that boss. Alright, so that is it for the freebie, can hook up with any affinity. Now we'll get into the Void Charge with Light mods. Alright, of course the Void is where we get access to our Protective Light. While Charged with Light, you gain significant damage resistance against combatants when your shields are destroyed. This effect consumes all stacks of Charged with Light. The more stacks consumed, the longer the damage resistance lasts. So, I generally have 2 stacks almost all the time. So, when I go critical, it consumes those. You'll see the buff in the bottom left. It's sheltered by the Void. And I don't recall, I think I have 10 seconds with 2 stacks. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. We'll go ahead and check that out. Now, another one, we got Extra Reserves. While Charged with Light, defeating combatants with Void damage grants a chance to drop special ammo. This effect consumes all stacks of Charged with Light. The more stacks you have, the higher your chance of gaining the ammo drop. Negative 10 intellect. Now, the problem with this is we're already getting so much ammo with the different perks that we have running the armor. This is unessential and a waste of a perk. Now, of course, Void gets us access to stacks on stacks. At the quite costly 4 energy, we gain 1 extra stack for every stack of Charge with Light we get. So this is one of the easiest way to maintain the stacks, since we tend to, basically, if you kill 2 enemies with Blast Radius, you automatically get 1 Charge with Light. But stacks on stacks gives us the second. So we kill 2 guys, that takes away both stacks, but we immediately get Charge with Light times 2. And if for any reason anything goes wrong, we pick up one of the orbs, bam, back to Charge with Light times 2. So stacks on stacks is a mainstay. Charge Harvester is alright, but we do not need this because we are going with Blast Radius. So going with Blast Radius removes the need to have Charge Harvester at all. And the other reason why we don't want to use it, negative 10 to the stat that governs your class ability recharge rate. Well, given my build and we want to be dodging to reload our weapons all the time, we want to have our class ability back as fast as possible. So this is definitely not something we want to check out. Alright, that's it for the Voids. In the Solar category, let's check out what we got. Now, the first one we got on the list, of course, is what we're rocking right now, the Blast Radius. Become charged with light by rapidly defeating multiple combatants with grenade launchers. Or rocket launchers. This is going to keep us charged with light all the time. Heal thyself while charged with light. Grenade final blows heal you and consume 1 stack of charged with light. It would be awesome if this counted for grenade launchers. Alas, it does not. Charged up. Say we wanted to get to charge with light times 3, we could use this. Alright? And in fact, notice this mod's effect stacks with other copies of this mod. Allows for 1 additional stack of charge with light. So if you guys are noticing that you're not charged up as much as you want to be with your charge with light, this can help to make sure that happens. Thing is this is going to waste a mod slot that can better be used for other things. So only use this if you feel like you are charged with light deprived. I'll just point it out because this is awesome. Argent Ordnance, if you guys don't have this, look for this mod. It costs 5. But this, for rocket launcher builds, this is a way to just do incredible amounts of damage. And, check it out, this mod's effect stacks with other copies of the mod. So you just stick a whole bunch of this on your gear and your rockets will do so much damage. I'm planning on doing a really cool build with my Titan using this. Alright, the last and one of the most costly of mods, Supercharged. You can have 2 additional stacks of charge with light up to a maximum of 5. So it is a maximum of 5. And you guys will notice this gives you 2. And if we actually go back, right, and we look at this, charged up is only 2. So we could get 2 additional stacks for only 4 energy, but this would take up 2 mod slots. So if you want to get 2 stacks with only using 1 mod slot, you can use Supercharged. It does cost you 1 more energy, but does allow that to happen. So lastly, I'm going to talk about arc mods that will work with the grenade launcher build. If you want to run a piece of arc gear, Powerful Friends can be great if you're in a raid, you're running a dungeon, or you're simply doing, anything you're doing with a fire team. This can help out. The first part of Powerful Friends, when you become charged with light, nearby allies also become charged with light if they are not already. And if they have stacks on stacks, they will gain 2 charges with light when you do this. Also, by using this gives plus 20% mobility. So this can be great if you're not using Dragon Shadow and you are using multiple arc mods. That does mean you'd have to run an arc mod in one of these other pieces, but doing so will allow you to charge up your allies and get you that plus 20% mobility. Another interesting one at only 3 energy is Radiant Light. Casting your super causes nearby allies to become charged with light. And if you run a second arc mod in this, you gain plus 20% strength. So as you guys see, there's an ongoing narrative, a motif here. If you run the arc subclass, you're really setting yourself up to help the fire team out and really help everybody to do more damage. And they give you benefits. It's one of the few things where you guys see we start to get the plus 20 strength bonus or the plus 20 mobility. Alright, Guardians, so that basically covers it for the Charge with Light mods. Now I'll go through some Warmind mods. After that, I'll go over a hybrid build that I use that can be used to some great effect too, and is great for some solo runs. Alright, next we'll briefly talk about Warmind cells and how they would fit into the build. I'm sure you guys know what the Warmind cells are. You probably know how to create them. So we will just talk about some brief little ways of using them. We will talk more about the Witherhoard in a minute, but the way that the Witherhoard's special ability works, where the weapon impact causes a blight, can be used in conjunction with any Akelos or Seven Seraph weapon to make the Witherhoard actually create Warmind cells. And right now we're just going to talk about the mods that we would use to take advantage of the Warmind cells. Because the Warmind cells, kind of like Charge with Light, in and of themselves don't do a whole lot. Yeah, you can blow some dudes up in a small radius, but it's really when you start using these mods and make sure that you're creating Warminds with some consistency that it really comes and becomes a part of the build. So let's get into it. Alright, so there's one non-elemental affinity mod that I'm aware of, and that's this Global Reach, which tends to actually be hands down the best perk for the Warmind cells, and that's because Warmind cells you create affect and damage targets at a greater distance. And this is huge. I think it seems like it's, I don't know, I'd have to guess about 40 to 50 meter radius. And this is anything basically in line of sight. And this seems to actually kind of around corners a little bit. I've seen it kill guys that I think it should not have. So definitely we're checking out if you're going to do the Warmind builds. Now we'll go and cover the Void mods. So, Grasp the Warmind, you can pick up and carry and throw a Warmind cell. Once thrown, a Warmind cell cannot be picked up again. So, at first this seemed kind of trivial, but one thing I noticed that's kind of cool with this, if you're running in a group or something, or even solo, just as a gimmick, right? You can have a couple Warmind cells on the ground. You finish off the enemies, and if there's still one there, pick it up, carry it with you into the next room. And if you're running with a bunch of randoms, you can actually piss some dudes off. If you, they're going in there trying to get some kills, you walk in and literally just annihilate a whole room with one Warmind cell. Get the fuck out of here. Warmind's Protection. Now, this is one that I actually do use if I'm not running the triple grenade launcher build. If I'm running triple grenade launcher builds, I run Protective Light. That's my defensive measures. If I'm running a Warmind cell build, I use Warmind's Protection. You take reduced damage from enemies that are near Warmind cells, and the enemies will actually be highlighted with an orange aura of the Warmind cell, and so you can tell which guys are actually doing reduced damage to you, and it looks to be about a 50% damage reduction, just like Protective Light. Don't quote me on that. If you guys know better, let me know in the comments. Alright, first off, in the solar we got Burning Cells. These are pretty hip. Destroying a Warmind cell creates a burst of solar energy that causes enemies to burn for several seconds. So this is pretty awesome. This doesn't do a whole lot of burning damage, but it does last a fair amount of time. And one of the really cool things about this is now with this ability, right, you could run, say, well, like my build where I'm running a Void Heavy, I'm running an Arc Element, I'm running the Witherhoard for Kinetic, right? And then I'm running Stasis as my subclass. I'm not currently, but I could, right? And then these would be, so I would have Void, Arc, Stasis covered, and then you throw in the Burning Warmind cells. Bam, we got Solar, and literally you could cover all 4 elements and Kinetic by yourself. So this is one reason why the burning cells can come in to be very beneficial if you're trying to do solo content with match game, where the shields, you can only really take down the shields if you match the energy type. This is one nice and fairly effective method to do it. Alright, next we got the Wrath of Rasputin. Solar splash damage, final blows have a chance to create Warmind cells. This would be awesome, and I would use this more if we actually had a plethora of solar grenade launchers. The solar grenade launchers are sadly underrepresented in Destiny 2, and when I say that, I mean literally, we got the Martyr's Retribution. This is the last season that it's worth anything. And then the only drum fed that we have to date is the Outrageous Fortune, which is a 150 rapid fire. And unfortunately, it just doesn't have the punch that I would really want. Incinerating Light. Become charged with light by rapidly defeating multiple enemies with the explosion of a Warmind cell. This means instead of having to kill them with my grenade launcher, I could simply get a Warmind cell out and blow it up with any weapon and become charged with light, and that will become charged with light times 2 because it stacks on stacks. So this is really hip if you do not want or do not have blast radius. Alright, and since Arc seems to give all the support love in the Charge with Light builds, let's see what it has to offer in the Warmind cell builds. So right out the gate, the first one which I happen to be using is the Blessing of Rasputin. Collecting a Warmind cell increases the chances that your next final blow with the Seraph weapon will create a Warmind cell. This, of course, is just beneficial to help create more Warmind cells, but actually, I don't like the things where you collect a Warmind cell. I'd much rather use perks where I'm blowing it up, or simply use the Grasp of the Warmind, where I'm going to pick up and carry a Warmind cell to the next area to then blow it up. So this, obviously you guys can see how this can be beneficial, but at the same time, why increase the chances of creating a Warmind cell when I can just guarantee I have one by carrying it to the next area? Strength of Rasputin. Collecting a Warmind cell grants you melee energy. Yeah, I'm sure that there's some great builds for this, but we're not going to use this. And lastly, we got Warmind's Light. Become charged with light by collecting a Warmind cell. Now, this is obviously the Warmind version of taking charge. Alright, I'm going to quickly go over the Charged with Light Warmind Cell hybrid build that I use. This is the build that I was using before I committed to the triple grenade launcher build. And this actually works to great effect and can be more beneficial in a group, as other people can somehow and at times take advantage of the different Warmind cells that we create. So, the one big difference with the weapons is we're going to use the Achilles SMG. There's a lot of different variations you can get. My particular one, this is the one I wanted. I got a choice of full bore or arrowhead break. We got the Seraph rounds. This over-penetrates targets, so it's armor-piercing rounds. It bounces off hard surfaces, so it's also ricochet rounds. And it doesn't display in the stats, but this actually increases your range even more than accurized rounds does. So this is the best range increase of any of these column 2 perks that we can get. Unfortunately, it doesn't show that in the stats. Dynamic sway reduction, an absolute must. This is what makes it so that I can run full bore and not worry about controlling the weapon. And then the big one for me, I know there's other people that choose other perks, but I like Demolitionist. This is just to keep it so I can keep tossing those grenades all the time. This is a grenade launcher build, so why not have some grenades in it also? On our solar, right, we're going with global reach right here to increase the range that our Warminds affect targets. However, what we could have done, if we're okay with having a smaller range, or we want to get rid of our other perk, this global reach can be switched out with either of these other 2 perks, which I'll go over. So the solar one, we could use burning cells, right? And this will add solar damage to the build if we don't already have it. I don't have solar in this build, so this is one way I can get some solar damage up in there, would be to switch to this, albeit cutting down on the range. The other thing I could do, I could put the solar burn from the Warmind cells in the gauntlets, and I could run global reach here, but instead I'm choosing to run Warmind's protection. Since I am no longer running protective light, and technically I could also run protective light if I wanted to in this, but we could run more Warmind's protection. You take reduced damage from enemies near the Warmind cells, and they will grow orange. You'll see them. Other options that I could do with this build, though, if I wanted to, right? Like I said, we could run protective light, but we could also run the Grasp of the Warmind. So I could have burning Warmind cells that I carry around, or I could have Warmind cells that have a huge explosion radius that I carry around by choosing this bad boy, right? My hybrid build is to run with, like I said, I prefer most things, since I would use this for endgame stuff, to use global reach and the Warmind's protection, but you could run global reach and you could run burning cells, and if you really didn't care about the radius, you could run burning and Warmind's protection at the same time. So these are things you got to figure out for yourself. You got to figure out what works best in your play style. There's no right or wrong way. There's your way, and then the way that everybody else does it. So, all right. Lastly, I'm going to get into a few tips, tricks, my opinion on some of the better ways to play with grenade launchers. Some of this stuff, a lot of you guys probably already know who play with these things. So feel free to skip ahead with the timestamps to the gameplay. All right, one of the biggest things is just learning how to use the breach launch grenade launchers. What are some of the tricks? Well, first of all, when you're first learning, if you're not very good, try to jump. It's harder to miss if you're up in the air shooting down, because it's a lot easier to dig where the ground is, right? See what I'm saying about jumping and shooting down? Get And again, just make it easy. I never really just fire it and don't hold the trigger. I always hold the trigger and I always remote detonate. See, so the remote detonation, right? I fire right up over his head, but bam. And again, bam. So remote detonation works really good. It just takes a bit of practice. So the best way to do it, like I said, is to aim down, fire, practice jumping, firing around corners, that kind of stuff. Is if I hit center mass, I mean, it's going to detonate anyway. What I want to do basically is just try to get as close to the area as possible and then detonate. So like this, we'll bounce it in there, like so. But the other thing we want to do is learn how to do rebounds, right? So, see that? There we go. Right, and notice we're not ADSing at all. You know, the only time I ever ADS is that if I have a very specific target I'm trying to hit at long range. Like, another big thing, guys, is when you fire, you can reload before the grenade explodes. Check this out. Now watch if I do this. It's literally not going to manually reload until the grenade explodes. So, alright, one last thing I did forget to mention regarding the mods. You guys notice we only have one grenade launcher loader. Theoretically, of course, we could put another one on there. The thing is, it's such a small amount of gain. The first one's 7%, and I believe the second one only takes us up to about 10% reload speed. So there's really no reason to use, especially the cost of 4. Given the current state of the game, just use one grenade reload speed and just free yourself up to do some other stuff. We got our new Salvagers. You guys notice we got 0 kills on this bad boy. We'll just do an easy little hero nightfall. Awesome. I keep forgetting to come to Cosmoduro to see about this. Dude. Oh. There we go. Alright, let's... Oh, these guys already bounced. Alright. I'm just having fun making sure I know what's going on here. So you guys see, even at surplus times 2, that reload on this thing is pretty quick. Okay, I'm used to how... Okay, there's... Oh, dude, look at this! Look at this! Look at this! This is amazing! Oh. Alright, I'm going to wreck shit right now. Here we go. Reported. Dudes, god damn, dude, what the fuck? Why would it not go off? I obviously had my fucking dodge. Let's go back and look at that. I had my fucking dodge. I'm double tapping. Fucking, what is up with this fucking lag, dude? Just like that, where it's like, alright, dude, like, you guys just put me back in the game. Dudes. This fucking stasis shit is bullshit. It's the fucking most annoying thing when people are doing that shit, and it's just fucking... They can suck a dick with all that stasis fucking crystal shit, dude. It makes it a big pain in the ass for fucking everybody else on the fucking team. Wait, what? Okay, so nobody went to the... I got you. Nobody went there. Alright, I'm gonna have to go back the other way because... Oh, dude, no able to summon. Oh, there I go, blowing myself up again, but we're having a lot of fun with this grenade launcher. Alright, so I gotta learn how to play this for sure. Oh yeah, dude, I'm killing shit even when I'm dead. Look at this. They don't seem to be giving me the ammo and shit that I want. I see, so dude, this thing's cool, but I'm actually thinking oh dude, what is up with my controller, dude? So this has been happening fucking for like the last 2 days, dude. What is up, Destiny? Like, dude, something's going on where your fucking game, dude, that lag. What is up with that? Oh, dude. Hey, I got a decent amount of shit for that. Huh. Not bad for my first time in there. Alright. Cool. Alright, I guess I'm going to go play around with it, and once I really figure it out, we'll check out the build.